Grigory Rasputin. The name itself evokes images of shadowy intrigue and mystical power. A man shrouded in mystery, whose life story is as enigmatic as his piercing gaze. Born into a peasant family in the desolate expanse of Siberia, Rasputin seemed destined for a life of obscurity. The harsh winters and the rugged landscape were all he knew in his early years. He had no formal education, no wealth, and no connections to the elite circles of power in St. Petersburg. His upbringing was humble, marked by the struggles and hardships typical of a peasant's life in 19th century Russia. Yet, this seemingly unremarkable man would rise to become one of the most influential figures in Russia, defying all odds and expectations. His journey from the remote Siberian village to the opulent palaces of St. Petersburg is nothing short of extraordinary. His reach extended into the very heart of the Romanov dynasty, where he became a trusted advisor to the royal family. Rasputin's influence over them was profound, and his presence in the court was both revered and reviled. Known for his alleged mystical powers and healing abilities, Rasputin captivated the Russian aristocracy. His reputation as a healer and a holy man spread far and wide, drawing both admiration and suspicion. Despite numerous attempts on his life, Rasputin's enigmatic presence continued to loom large over Russian politics and society. His eventual assassination only added to the legend, cementing his place in history as a figure of both fascination and controversy. Today, Rasputin remains a subject of endless intrigue and speculation. His life, filled with mysticism, power and drama, continues to captivate historians and the public alike, making him one of the most enigmatic figures in Russian history. Rasputin's early life was shrouded in the harsh realities of rural existence. Born in a small village in Siberia, he grew up surrounded by the unforgiving landscape and the relentless struggle for survival. The harsh winters and the backbreaking labour of the fields were all he knew. He received little schooling and developed a reputation as a wild, unpredictable youth. His lack of formal education did not hinder his cunning and resourcefulness. Rasputin was known to be a free spirit, often wandering the countryside and getting into trouble. Some whispered of his involvement in petty theft and debauchery. Tales of his misdeeds spread through the village, painting a picture of a young man who lived on the edge of society's norms. His actions were often seen as rebellious and defiant. Others spoke of his intense charisma and strange, almost hypnotic gaze. Despite his wild ways, there was something undeniably magnetic about him. People were drawn to his presence, captivated by his piercing eyes and the aura of mystery that surrounded him. It was during these formative years that Rasputin discovered his affinity for religious mysticism. He began to explore the spiritual world, seeking answers to the questions that plagued his restless mind. This journey into mysticism would eventually lead him down a path that would change the course of history. He embarked on pilgrimages, immersing himself in the teachings of various sects and developing a reputation as a wandering holy man, a starets, capable of healing the sick and offering spiritual guidance. It was this reputation that would ultimately serve as his passport to power. As Rasputin honed his image as a divinely touched healer, whispers of his abilities reached the ears of those desperate for miracles. Among them were members of Russia's aristocracy, individuals accustomed to a life of privilege and power, yet often haunted by anxieties and uncertainties. They saw in Rasputin a beacon of hope, a man who seemed to possess an almost supernatural understanding of the human soul. To the Russian aristocracy, he was more than just a mystic. He was a saviour, a healer who could cure the incurable. Little did they know, the unassuming peasant from Siberia was about to weave a web of influence that would ensnare the highest echelons of Russian society. His rise to power was meteoric, fueled by the desperation of a royal family clinging to any semblance of stability. Rasputin's influence over Tsar Nicholas II and his wife Alexandra grew stronger with each passing day. He became a trusted advisor, a confidant, and eventually a puppet master pulling the strings behind the scenes. His presence in the royal court sowed seeds of distrust and discontent among the nobility, who saw him as a dangerous interloper. Ultimately, Rasputin's unchecked power and the chaos it brought would contribute to the downfall of an empire, forever altering the course of Russian history. Rasputin's influence over the Russian elite was a masterclass in manipulation. He created an atmosphere of uncertainty and dependency, making himself indispensable to those in power. By presenting himself as a mystical healer and confidant, he exploited the fears and insecurities of the nobility. His enigmatic presence and cryptic predictions kept the elite in a constant state of anxiety, always seeking his guidance and approval. This dependency allowed Rasputin to wield significant power behind the scenes. In the modern age, manipulation techniques have evolved, but the core principles remain the same. Rasputin's secret was simple. He knew that ultimately it's not power that humans crave. They crave certainty. The more power someone has, the more uncertainties they face, and the more desperately they need someone who appears to have answers. This same technique is being used today. And the most dangerous part, this blueprint works on so-called world leaders, your business titans, and those who label themselves as intellectual elites. It also affects the ordinary people of this world, trying to just get by. So in this sense, power actually makes you more vulnerable. The consequences of Rasputin's manipulation were profound and far-reaching. Those in power, despite their intelligence and authority, found themselves increasingly vulnerable to his influence. Rasputin's ability to exploit their weaknesses and insecurities allowed him to weave a web of control that ensnared even the most powerful figures in the Russian Empire. His manipulation highlighted a critical vulnerability in the corridors of power: the susceptibility of leaders to those who can skillfully play on their fears and desires. Rasputin's presence at the royal court was a testament to how intelligence and power do not necessarily safeguard against cunning and deceit. The more the Tsar and Tsarina relied on Rasputin, the more they became isolated from reality, making decisions that would ultimately lead to their downfall. This dependency on Rasputin's counsel exposed the fragility of their rule and the ease with which a single manipulative individual could steer the fate of an entire empire. In the end, Rasputin's manipulation not only sealed his own fate, but also contributed to the collapse of the Romanov dynasty, demonstrating the perilous price of power when it falls into the hands of the unscrupulous. Rasputin's final prophecy foretold his own death and the downfall of the Romanov dynasty. He warned, "If I die or you desert me, you will lose your son and your throne within 6 months." True to his words, Rasputin was murdered in December 1916, and the Romanovs were overthrown in the Russian Revolution just months later. But Rasputin's influence was not due to any supernatural powers. His true strength lay in his profound understanding of human psychology. He knew how to manipulate the fears and desires of those around him, gaining their trust and wielding power over them. Rasputin's legacy endures not as a mystical figure, but as a master of human nature, whose psychological insight allowed him to control an empire. And so, the Mad Monk's story remains a testament to the power of understanding the human mind. It is clear we are all susceptible to manipulation, but there is an antidote to the Rasputin blueprint. When facing uncertainty, ask yourself, who benefits from my confusion? And who positions themselves as the only answer? That's how you break the spell. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this video on the Stellify channel. I hope you have enjoyed it. Please let me know your thoughts below in the comments box. Is it true that those in so-called power are also open to such manipulation? And seeing how easy it was from 2020 to control huge populations using the power of the media and their biggest weapon of fear, how do we become stronger in our own minds so we are not manipulated and controlled so easily again? If you have enjoyed this video, please do like, share and subscribe, as it really inspires me to make more content such as this.